Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contracts, services month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show.
Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Chris Prefontaine on the line. He's CEO and founder over at Smart Real Estate Coach. Chris, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Adam.
Oh, man, Chris, so I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk about 3 paydays. It's a really unique concept and how you're helping people in real estate. I haven't quite heard anybody else, talk about this, so it's rare that you find that. So we're going to get into that in depth. But before we do, let's go a little bit further into what you're doing over at Smart Real Estate Coach overall. Tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, we have a mission, Adam, to actually do transactions. Now you say, okay, cool, you're in real estate. Isn't that the norm? But the difference is we actually do the deals with the students. I think there's an enormous gap in a lot of industries, but certainly real estate, from the time someone takes a course or a seminar and then does a deal. And sometimes, sadly, that's a big gap that people never get out of. So we actually have programs whereby we're locking arms with students all around North America, mostly the United States, and actually getting deals done with them. So they're getting live coaching, but hands-on coaching right down to even calling and speaking with them and their buyers and sellers. So it's pretty cool. And we do all of that on terms, which is lease purchase, owner financing, and subject to purchasing. That's it. So we will never, ever use a bank. We will never, ever sign personally. And I learned all that the hard way after the '08 crash.
So, at the end of this, I'm going to give you the opportunity to leave your website or contact information or however it makes most sense for people to connect with you. But I want to make sure that the right types of individuals and organizations follow up. What's typically a good fit to work with a Smart Real Estate Coach?
Yeah, great question. We've got quite the gamut from an age group and a background avatar group, Adam. So we see people who are leaving corporate America, just tired of the job. We see people who are in the industry, perhaps in another niche, migrating to the terms niche because it is so super flexible, literally in up, down, and sideways markets. And then we see brand new wannabe investors who have kind of kicked the tires a while, but got caught in that gap that I just talked about and never really got a deal done. And so they're coming over to really get some hands-on experience.
Man, that's awesome. All right, let's switch it up a bit. I want to get further into today's topic. So let's get into 3 paydays and how it works. Like I said, it's a unique concept. Tell us more.
Sure. So 3 paydays means this. Every time we are entering into a deal, and the only deals we do is what I said earlier, lease purchase, owner financing, and subject to. That's on the purchase side. When we exit these deals, however, instead of, I've been at this almost 30 years, so I've done all of the go do a flip, get a check. Even be a realtor, get a check. I've done all those one-check deals. What we set up is a simple program whereby we're getting 3 paydays. We're getting cash up front when we install a buyer into our properties. So that's a cash now. Every business owner loves that. We're getting payday 2 is the difference between what our buyer is paying us monthly while they're procuring financing. They're leasing the property. But there's a difference between what they're paying us and what we're paying on the underlying debt or the seller. So there's a monthly spread. So you have your cash now, big chunk. You have your monthly spread. Every property is going to bring in $300 to $1,000 a month. And then the third payday is pretty cool because the third payday is not only the markup in the price from whatever we secured the home at, but it's also all of the principal pay down on the underlying debt throughout the term with this buyer getting their financing. So think about that formula from any business owner, entrepreneur, solopreneur standpoint. I get cash now, I get projected cash monthly, and I get a big back end Now I can start literally planning on those paydays per deal. Pretty cool system.
So let's walk through what this looks like. So I mean, by the way, it sounds amazing, but I want to let's take us through a deal, take us through like maybe a case study scenario of what this looks like, and I want you to kind of go nuts and bolts like through it. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to paint the picture, because a lot of the people listening to this didn't know that something like this was possible. Like they're listening, they're like, wait a minute. They maybe only heard of maybe one of these paydays out of the three, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, most people are used to one payday regardless of where and how it comes in, right? So let me give you some examples. I love one of the methods I mentioned is the owner financing. I love owner financing. To paint the picture, we do owner financing with sellers who have no mortgage on their property. And why do we do that? Because we found them to be super flexible, right? They're debt-free on their house, and so they've done some things right, and they're probably financially savvy. I'm going to give you an exact deal. We structured a deal with a gentleman that had his house in the market for $219,000. Like a lot of sellers, the house didn't sell. We call that an expired listing for those who may be not familiar with the terminology. So it didn't sell. He called us and said, "Hey, I met you years ago. Can you do that owner financing thing?" is what he said, which is comical. When he said that, I said, "Sure." I said, "What did you think you were going to get on the open market for your property?" He said, "Well, I was on for $219. I think I would have got about $183. He literally had that number in mind. I said, "Okay, great. So I will pay you your $183. I will do so, however," Don was his name, "by paying you monthly principal payments of $923. But the key thing I just said, Adam, is that's 100% principal payment to him against my purchase price." Then we turn around and we say, "I want to go ahead and install a buyer here." And when I say install a buyer, who occupies our property? People who are in need of time to get mortgage ready or time to enhance credit. That's a big one. People who need credit repair. So anyone needing time. So we did find someone. That person put down $15,000. Our average payday is closer to $28 now, but this is an older deal. They put down $15,000. That's non-refundable. That shows you that they're a serious buyer versus a renter that someday wants to hopefully buy. So the payday one was $15,000. Payday two, remember I pay the owner $923 principal every month. Payday two is my buyer's paying me a $1,500 monthly lease payment. They don't get principal credit. They're on their way to get a mortgage, so you don't want to take all the incentive away to go get a mortgage by giving them principal credit. So $1,500, and we have an outgo of $923 plus some insurance. So let's just call it around $500 spread. So that payday two during this 4-year term totaled over $20,000. So remember, payday one, $15 in hand. Payday two over the 4-year term, a little over $20,000. Now, payday three is super interesting on these owner financing deals, because payday three is we marked this home up to $239,900. Remember, we procured it at $183,000. So $239,900, that's a big spread. That's like $57,000 plus the principal pay down of the $923 over 48 months. That's huge. It's over $40,000. Now, all these paydays added up. When you add up payday one of 15, two is over 20, three is over 80. This deal is a $120,000 deal, just on a house that costs $183. Now, it's mind-boggling for some people, and it's all because of the principal pay down.
Man, it's great, and I'm glad you went through a scenario, because for some people, you know, and I think some people get like, they maybe tried to get into real estate, maybe said, but like you said, they didn't get through the deal, or it just kind of fell flat, or maybe they even got through the deal, and then at the end of it, maybe their numbers were off, and there were some things that they didn't expect, so their deal wasn't as profitable, and they're like, I did all this work for what? Like, yep, all these different scenarios happen with people. I've seen it too. All these different scenarios happen with people, and you're like, no, there's still great markets. There's still money to be made, but working, I think, with professionals like you and your team makes a lot of sense. Is there any specific, for this system, or just in general for a smart real estate coach, any specific geographies you work with? I mean, go a little bit further into that, property types, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, great question. So let's go property types first. We teach single family, right? From let's just say like nationally from the platform, okay, generally speaking, single family. However, when you start talking about buying things on terms, it doesn't matter if it's owner financing or lease purchase, you literally can do that with buildings, you can do it with cars, you can do it with boats. It doesn't matter. You're buying and selling on terms. our own office building was bought on terms. No bank, no personal signature, on terms. The owner was, steps in as sort of the quasi bank. So we prefer singles, but please understand you do it on any property whatsoever. As far as geography, we are all over North America. I said about 95% is U.S. There are no markets that preclude you from buying and selling on terms. It's just a matter of each pocket. Let's just say nationally, forget Canada for a minute. But if you go across the country, each pocket, doesn't matter what the entire community is doing, the entire economy is doing, each pocket has its own market. When people say to me real estate market, I say, well, there's not one market. There's pockets all over the country. And so it doesn't really matter geographically where we do these deals. What matters is depending on how the market's trending, up, down, or sideways, then you would concentrate more on certain types of deals. That's all. But you're going to still always transact terms deals.
That's awesome. So next steps. So if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on Smart Real Estate Coach, whether they're looking for the 3 paydays or they want to just learn more overall about what you're doing and to connect, what's the best way for them to reach out and to follow you and your team?
Sure. 2 things come to mind. We are on all social media. If you just plug in the Smart Real Estate Coach, like YouTube, you have hundreds of deals you can go look at. We expose them all. We show you how we construct them. But as far as getting in touch with us very simply, go to smartrealestatecoach.com. If they don't mind listening to me go on and babble for a while, there's a free webinar. It's content rich. It's going to open your eyes a little bit deeper than what you and I were talking about. And I'm happy to be myself or my son-in-law, Zach, happy to do a free strategy call with anyone that says they heard us on your show. Just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/action. We're happy to chat with you.
And so I received a couple of your books in the mail. So the New Rules of Real Estate Investing, 24 Leading Experts Reveal Their Real Estate Secrets. And then the second book, Real Estate on Your Terms. So if somebody wants to learn more and read your books and kind of follow that trail too of content you're putting out, because you're putting out amazing content. How do they do all that stuff?
They can actually, when they do the strategy call, we can give them a free electronic version, or they can just go to Amazon, of course. But the Real Estate on Your Terms would be the system you and I are talking about, and then the New Rules of Real Estate takes it a little bit deeper with other experts commenting in.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great stuff that you're doing. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Chris, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Adam. Much appreciated.